Welcome to Random Radio. I'm your host, David Bolander, and thank you guys for listening in. So, today I wanted to talk about acceptance. Um, Whether that be like accepting change, accepting a part of yourself, accepting whatever is going on in the world around you, right? Just general acceptance. That's what I want to talk about today. Especially with the holidays rolling around. You know, like I've learned to accept the fact that the holidays is going to be stressful, and so then once you accept that, or really once you accept much of anything, you unlock the ability to just kind of reduce stress for it, right? Like I accepted that the holidays are going to be a pain, and now I don't really like worry about the holidays being a pain because I've really accepted that, and that's just kind of the norm now. And so then that greatly reduced stress, and it's been allowing me to think a lot more clearly, just about anything really during the holidays, right? Because I've always viewed, not always, just in the past couple of years, and I've been viewing the holidays as a pretty stressful time, just because. Like, I'm not even worried about getting people presents or about spending money or anything. It's just a rough time because my allergies always kick up, and you know, and all my uh, all the family starts to get a little bit tense because nobody's seen the sun in like 3 weeks. But yeah, and it's cold. That's another thing, is that it gets down to like zero here consistently, especially when right around Christmas time. And so that's, let me tell you, it like the actual temperature is not bad. Like it's not the temperature that's bad, it's the wind. The fact that we live in a super windy place is the real thing. That really just kills you. Just because the wind is the thing that like gets through your jacket, right? Your jacket can do a pretty good job of actually keeping you away from the cold, but keeping you from the wind, not much can do that. Not much can keep you from the wind other than a big bulky or like a skiing coat, right? Skiing coat, snow pants, and a beanie and a very thick pair of gloves. That's the best that you can get. And even that doesn't do it all the time. But yeah, winter's always been stressful. But as I said, accepting the fact that winter is going to be stressful has really, really helped me just kind of cope with it, I guess. Right? Yeah. And then a couple other things I've accepted. I've accepted. I had to accept this starting in seventh and eighth grade. It was very sudden in eighth grade, but anyway, I learned to accept the fact that I'm not going to be the best in math. You know, and I know that that sounds kind of like a jerk move, or that sounds like just me being an ego, or like whatever it is, egotist, something like that. I can't remember what you're supposed to say for that, but like that sounds like it's like that. But when you've grown up your entire life, uh, um, being the best and being the top of your class in math, specifically for me, um, then it kind of punches you in the face when you realize, oh, I'm not actually the best. In fact, I was actually one of the worst kids in my eighth grade math class. You know, and then into ninth grade, I had accepted the fact that, oh, I'm not the best in my class anymore. And then I had also been put in an advanced class where I was with a whole bunch of kids who were a grade above me, so they were struggling with it right at their normal grade level. And so that I think that might have helped me in the way of my social situation. But yeah, and if I hadn't accepted the fact that I'm not going to be the best at math, that would have destroyed me from the inside out. And yeah, it's such a pain. And then seventh grade, I didn't really accept the fact that I was bad at history, or not seventh grade, ninth grade, and then last year, 10th grade, I really accepted the fact that, oh, I'm actually kind of bad at history, as I'm taking an AP history class, and I almost failed that class multiple trimesters. And the only reason why I didn't is extra credit, which normally probably shouldn't have been available. But either way, I had to learn. And in ninth grade was a really, really tough year in the way of like history and English, because everybody in my class was better than me. Everybody in my class was actually doing a good job of passing the class versus me, who was getting a C minus for the first time in his life. You know, I was getting the worst grades I've ever gotten in my ninth and 10th grade history classes, and that was a really hard thing for me to accept. And I was just like, oh man, I'm used to being a straight A or an A/B student, right? But I don't know. And I will say though that towards I actually kind of accepted it. I had like started accepting the fact that, oh, I'm bad at history towards the end of the first trimester of my 10th grade or sophomore year. And I was just like, let's just accept this, right? It's not going away, and this is the second year I'm doing it, and I'm still doing bad at it. It's not just the teacher. Um, and so, but right after that, then go figure, I start doing better because I'm less stressed about doing a good job or about getting an A, and I'm more, focused on let's do the best on this assignment that I can. I don't care if I get an A or a B, or I don't even care if I get a C. Heck, I would have been fine with a D, as long as I did my best on the assignments, right? As long as I at least tried every assignment, tried every problem on every assignment, I would have, and that's one thing that really, really helped me, is just accepting the fact that, oh, I'm not good at everything, right? Like, it's a reality, and that was my challenge, and I'm sure that with everybody, that everybody has to face all their different challenges. Like, um, it's kind of hard for me to say because I don't even know what other people struggle with. But one thing that I know that I struggled with was being not top of my class anymore, and that was just kind of the case. And starting really this year, and maybe towards the middle of last year, I also accepted the fact that a lot of other people are better in their respective fields than I am, but I also have something to give the world, right? Like that's another thing, is that with the whole, oh, I'm not good at stuff, you also need to accept and to realize that, oh, I'm actually good at these other things, right? I may not be the best in history, but I'm amazing in programming. I'm amazing in psychology, right? I'm amazing in these fields I'm really passionate about, and that's okay. You don't have to be amazing at absolutely everything, and that's just something you kind of have to accept. But then if you also need to realize though that you you're not worthless, right? If you're not the absolute best in history, or let's say that your school places history or math or whatever at the top of that, like as like the top tier, as like, yes, you have reached the very top if you are good at this. But if you're not good at that, then you're useless. If that's what your school is telling you, or if that's whatever it is telling you that's in your life, then you need to accept, oh, I'm not the best at that specific thing, but you've got to also, but then, you know, it's okay to be good at other things, right? Like, I keep getting told that I'm good at guitar. I know 10 people who are better at guitar than me. I've been told I'm a good programmer. I learned recently that there are like 3 people in my math class who are better programmers than I am. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being kind of average in those things, right? Just because I'm like, well, you know, I don't even know. It's just, it's kind of confusing, and it's kind of annoying to try to learn to accept stuff. But I will say, once you learn to accept one thing, it becomes so much easier to accept everything else, because you get an understanding of, oh, this is what it feels like to accept it, right? And you may have thought in the past that you've accepted something, but if it's still bugging you, you haven't accepted it yet, or you haven't accepted it to the degree that you need to be okay with it, right? Like if it's still bugging you, then it's kind of a problem still. um, but that's most of what I wanted to say. In all honesty, is just like, accept the fact that you're not the best at everything, or whatever challenge that you're trying to accept, right? Just accept whatever you need to, and then also realize that you're not totally worthless. You actually have something to offer the world. Like, I don't. It doesn't matter what it is, right? If you're good at programming, if you're good at music, if you're good at math, if you're good at history, if you're good at English, it doesn't matter what you're good at. You just need to realize I'm good at this thing, and then you need to focus. And then you need to focus on that, right? Like, I focused on psychology, and so I like to talk to myself, and I like to think through things on a psychological standpoint, right? Like, in math class, then I may not be the absolute best in that sense, but I get asked a couple times. I've been asked a couple times this year, just like, what do you think about like the morals of this thing, or what do you think about this? And I can usually give a pretty good answer about that. And I mean, don't be pushy about it as well, right? Like, um, I don't even know. Like, I guess treat it like how I treat this podcast. I try not to make this super pushy or super like you have to listen to this because it's good for you. No. Uh, if you want to listen to this podcast, feel free. If you don't want to listen to it, you don't have to, right? Like, if you don't want to subscribe to this channel, don't. By all means, I don't subscribe to any. I'm not subscribed to literally anybody because it's too much for me. It's just a little bit overwhelming for me, and so it doesn't work for me. And I mean, and that's the other thing is that you need to accept. The other thing that you need to accept is that not everything that people tell you is going to work for you, right? Like, let's say somebody tells you, well, this is how I type, right? Like, like typing on a keyboard. This is how I type, right? This is how I type, and this is how you should type too. That's, you need to accept the fact that, well, or it's actually a two-way street where the person who's getting told that needs to accept that, oh, the thing that worked for this other person isn't like doesn't work for me, or if it does, then you need to accept that, oh, they were right about this, right? And I mean, like, give it a try and don't be snotty about it, but like, you know, like give everything a try, but also don't be afraid to say this doesn't work for me, right? Like, for example, I keep giving examples, but that's honestly, I think that that's the best way to teach these things, that you can't really physically visualize it in a good way without a metaphor, right? And so that's actually why I talk mostly in metaphors, is because it's easier for me to say, oh, it's like this. I find it easier to relate it to something that you can see physically. And from what I've been told, then it's a lot easier to understand what I'm saying when I relate it to something that's physical, right? Um, but yeah, and then the other example that I actually wanted to give was working out. So, you know, for me, working out just doesn't work for me, honestly, in most cases, or like working out consistently doesn't work out for me. And so I don't work out consistently. And that's okay with me because I don't need to lift anything super heavy in my line of work. And you may say, oh, but he's a boy. He needs to be able to lift 500 pounds on his own. To that, I say no. I say no. I can design something. I can 3D print something. I could probably 3D print something in a month. Um, if I ever learn how to 3D print something, and if I ever get a 3D printer, I could probably 3D print something that would be able to lift 500 pounds while I'm only pulling a single pound. Just with gear ratios and pulleys and stuff. It's possible, and that's what works for me. And and I've had quite a few people say, "Oh, but to get in shape, you need to do this, and in order to do this, then you need to do that." Right? And to that, then I just say, you're outright wrong, you know? Because not everything works for everybody, right? Like, me being in shape doesn't mean, to me, then being in shape doesn't mean working out every single day. To me, being in shape means eating something good and healthy that I want to eat, right? Or going on a walk every day. I don't go on a walk every day, but if I were overweight, if I ever get overweight, then that's one thing that I would probably do, is just go on a walk every day, just because it's enjoyable, right? Um, but yeah, just something that you need to accept, that both parties, if somebody's telling you something, then both parties need to accept that not everything works for everybody, right? In fact, my math teacher is consistently telling us this, just like, So this is how I like to do it, because I like to do it the algebraic way, because I'm not a visual person. But here's another way that you can do it if this works better for you. It doesn't matter which way is better, or which way works for you, but whatever works, right? Because honestly, the true thing is that it doesn't matter how you get somewhere. Like, yeah, the journey is amazing and it's fun, but it's only fun if you make it that way, right? Like, but and then the destination is honestly the only thing that matters, right? Like, let's see here. So it might be more fun to take like an ATV through the mud, through the big muddy swamp, and go that way to get to the top of the mountain, right? Or to get to the other side of the field. Um, but then if you're thinking that like somebody on foot, and then the guy in the ATV passes by you and says, "Hey, take this way in the mud. It's so much more fun." And then the person on foot decides to go through and try it, and is like, "Okay, I've never been through the mud before, so let's try it." And so then they walk through the mud for a little bit, and they're like, "Man, I really hate this." So then they turn back, and then they can walk through the field the normal way, right? Or the footpath way, right? Like, it just make, I guess what I'm trying to say is, make whatever it is that you're trying to do work for you. And if it doesn't work for you, then I guess it's not that important, right? And I guess, I don't know. Not important is not the right set of words, but I guess that's not, if it's not going to work for you, then it's not going to work for you. And that's just the fact, right? Like, if working a full-time job every single day doesn't work for you, I guess that doesn't work for you. There are options to work part-time nowadays. Like, there are options, right? And that's one thing that I think a lot of people forget about, is the fact that we have so many options nowadays, right? That, like, if you want something, you can get it, right? You can get it in at least three different manners, right? Like, if you don't feel like working a full-time job, maybe you work a full-time job for about a year, and then, but while you're doing that, then try to like make a YouTube channel, or try to make a Spotify podcast, do something that works for you, right? And that's something that you need to accept, is just that, well, not everything will work for you, but there are also a few, like, you need to accept yourself, I guess. You need to accept everything about yourself to realize, oh, this other thing works for me, so let's use this. Like, it might be a little bit of a roundabout way to do it, but let's get to the destination, because this other way is going to take me at least 5 times as long, in the long run. And so I don't know. Moral of the story: be accepting, I guess, and uh, you know, try to accept things, right? Accept things like you're not going to be the best at everything. You're not, like, you're not worthless as well. Not everything's going to work for you, but there are a few things that will work for you, definitely. And if you have to develop those things, that's okay, you know? And like, and there are so many things, so many other things that I could actually say for this, but yeah. But yeah, I'd actually like to cut this off here, but I hope that you guys have been having a good time. And by the way, if you guys want me to do like another set, like another video, that's similar to this one, except that I'm going to talk about a couple other like political standings that are going around right now. Um, if you guys want me to talk about that kind of stuff, and how to be more, and what my views on being accepting about those things are, and yes, it is very complicated for those things. But anyway, if you want me to talk about that stuff, put it in the comments, put it in whatever thing I have going on Spotify. um, but yeah, I hope that you guys have a good rest of your day, rest of your night, whenever you're watching this or listening to this. You know. Oh, well, I hope you guys have a good time, and have a good holidays. I should post one more video before the holidays, and so this won't be the video before the holidays, hopefully. But yeah, have a happy pre-holiday week, and try not to get too stressed out about it. So yeah, I'm David Bolander, and this was Random Radio, signing off.